Welcome to Pliable U. So the question is, what is NIL? I'm Greg Glynn, founder and CEO of Pliable. Pliable is a full-service marketing company and NIL agency. In this video, we're going to be talking about the court ruling that changed college sports, and I argue, sports forever. For decades, the NCAA operated under one main principle: amateurism. Well, a lot of things have changed since those rules were originally written, and this now means that college athletes are going to be able to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. Before, they could really only get scholarships, they couldn't get paid, and now they're going to be able to use their name, image, and likeness, and that's going to allow them to do brand deals. It's going to also allow revenue sharing, which we'll talk about in future classes. But one college basketball player decided enough was enough, and that led to this movement of NIL and eventually a legal battle that reshaped college sports and paved the way for today's NIL opportunities. So how did it all start? Well, in 2009, Ed O'Bannon, a former UCLA basketball player, noticed something strange while playing a college video game. He said, "You know what, that looks an awful lot like me." Well, he was right, of course, because they were using his name, his image, and likeness. So the problem was, he wasn't getting paid for that. O'Bannon realized that that game and the NCAA were making money off of his image without his permission. So he filed a lawsuit against the NCAA. Now, that lawsuit was known as O'Bannon versus the NCAA, and eventually it went through the court systems. It took a long time. That is one trend you'll see in the NIL industry, is that legislation does not move at the speed of business. So what it did is that court case eventually got to the Supreme Court, and in 2021, they ruled that athletes would be able to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. Now, this changed college sports drastically overnight. Many people didn't see this coming, but some did. So, why this court case is important is because it also showed why amateurism is over in college sports. The fact that brands and businesses like video games are monetizing these athletes meant that now it's time that we accept that college sports is no longer amateurism when you look at the money that's being spent in sports, especially football and basketball. Now, one of the other things that has been a hot topic is merchandise. The NCAA has always been selling college sports merchandise, and it grew into a multi-billion-dollar business. But the courts and fans started asking the important question: how can everyone else make money except the athletes? Didn't make sense. So, what came along was the Fair Pay to Play Act. In 2019, California took a bold step forward by passing the Fair Pay to Play Act. This law said that college athletes in California could profit from their name, image, and likeness, even if the NCAA still banned it. Now, it was the first law of its kind, and it changed everything, the NCAA calling it unfair. So you can see how there was already writing on the wall in 2019 that things were going to change. So what happened was, whether the NCAA liked it or not, this created pressure across the country, not only just on the NCAA, but also other sports organizations. And Congress then started to rethink what was fair for student athletes. Now, NCAA versus Alston in 2021 was that Supreme Court ruling I was talking about. So while state laws were changing, another critical case was making headlines. Now, the Alston case wasn't directly about NIL. It focused on whether the NCAA could limit education-related benefits for student athletes. But as I said, in 2021, a lot of things had been changing, and I feel like the writing was on the wall. Eventually, the court said the NCAA's restrictions were unfair, and they violated antitrust laws. Now, you don't need to have a law degree to figure this out, but they were basically blocking fair competition. That ruling opened the door for more change. So just weeks later, June 30th, 2021, NCAA had to issue an interim policy, keyword being interim, and that meant that basically this was a temporary allowance for these athletes to do this. The NCAA realized they were probably going to have to make a change, much like you see with an interim coach. Well, Eventually, it would take hold and it wouldn't be interim anymore, and the cat had already been let out of the bag. So there are still some challenges, even though NIL is accepted now in college sports, especially for some international athletes, limited to how they can earn money here in the US. So what started with one athlete and a video game turned into one of the most significant shifts in college sports history. So from Ed O'Bannon's lawsuit to California's Fair Pay to Play Act, the Supreme Court's Alston decision, each step moving college sports toward fairness and opportunity. Today, over 500,000 student athletes can use their name, image, and likeness to build their personal brand and also create real opportunities for their future. And that's probably why you're here. NIL is a tremendous opportunity, and I'm glad to be able to provide you with the education to empower you here at Pliable U.